Can optimism improve your finances? Well, believe it or not, the data seems to indicate that it can. And so whether you're beginning your financial journey or you're well into your financial journey or even near retirement, cultivating optimism as it relates to your finances is really important. We'll cover that in today's video. Now, if you're new to our channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We're posting content all the time on various aspects of retirement income planning and overall wealth planning. So if you don't want to miss future content, hit subscribe. As well, we have free resources that will help you in your retirement planning and wealth planning journey. Make sure you go to the show notes to find out more about those free complimentary resources. Okay, let's talk about optimism and how that can improve your finances. Well, why is it that some people just naturally look at the bright side of things? They're glass is half full kind of people, as opposed to glass is half empty. Some people are just negative pessimists. That's just their natural default. And psychologists at Sun Life, in a recent study, talked about the different factors that can lead to that. It could be our own basic natural temperament. It could be our family experiences, the values that we learned as we were growing up, and just life events that take place. But the good thing is that we can cultivate being optimistic. We can cultivate the ability to look at the positive side of things. And why that's important is that if you are naturally positive or optimistic, that has a positive ripple effect on all areas of life, not just your finances. So we're going to talk about how cultivating optimism is important and different aspects of this cultivation in your financial planning. Okay, so the thesis here is that optimism has a positive ripple effect on our relationships, on our health, on our finances as an example. So obviously we're going to talk about finances. So again, the link for this study will be found in the show notes. If you want to take a look at the actual study I'm referencing, please feel free to do that. And one of the things they referenced in this particular article was the fact that a recent U.S. survey confirmed that optimists were 7 times more likely to exhibit better financial health than pessimists. Now, when they talk about financial health, they're not really talking about more income or a higher net worth statement, although those might be important things for some people. That's not really what they're measuring. So they identified the groups from psychological profiles about temperament, which people were more pessimistic in nature, which people were more optimistic in nature. And they asked those groups the following questions. So the questions were, are you able to make ends meet? Do you have financial goals? And are you on track to meeting those financial goals? Do you have an emergency fund? And does your budget allow for life's pleasures? Things like going out for dinner or for traveling. So answers to these questions demonstrated the way optimists could better relate to money. And the survey shed some light on the 3 kinds of strategies or habits that optimists engage in to have this better relationship to money. And so let's talk about those 3 particular strategies or key habits that they cultivate. Okay, let's look at some of the key habits that optimists exhibited that helped them in their financial journey to be more successful and have a better relationship with money. The first area was that optimists were more likely to seek out advice and information from friends, family members, or a financial advisor. They're more transparent and they're willing to engage in conversations with other people as a way of trying to get more information and to get ahead in their financial journey. Pessimists, on the other hand, were different. They were less likely to seek out advice or information. They took a more of a lone wolf mentality. They kept things closer to the vest. They just really didn't feel comfortable talking to others about money. So in fact, 76% of the respondents who were categorized as optimists would seek out advice from others, and only 53% of pessimists would do the same thing. So the next habit really follows closely with the previous one I just mentioned. That is, optimists had a tendency to seek out the advice and follow the advice of a financial advisor with greater frequency than pessimists. In fact, 63% of optimists, the respondents who fit that category, were willing to seek out the advice of an advisor and to actually act on that advice, whereas pessimists were 40%. And so the degree to which they sought advisors and acted on the advisor's advice was much less. Now, why that's important is in our industry, there's been many studies by academics looking at the financial outcomes, both from an emotional, psychological standpoint and a financial standpoint, of advised households compared to non-advised households. And the studies have been quite clear. Advised households tend to have better outcomes. Now, one of the reasons for that is not just better advice being given, but also the nature of the coaching relationship. So when you think about it, what does a coach do? So a financial coach comes to understand the client's situation, what their goals are, does a gap analysis to see are there any deficiencies in their current planning, maps out strategies to deal with those deficiencies, and then helps the person implement on those strategies. Once that implementation begins to take place, they offer encouragement and accountability to make sure things are followed through on, and then does a review and then reviews that whole process all over again. Now, if you're pursuing that multi-step process, coaching relationship process, you're going to make progress. It doesn't matter what area of life we're talking about, but particularly in finances, if you're doing that consistently, there's a very high probability you can have better outcomes over time than somebody who is a lone wolf, not seeking advice, doing it on their own, trying to figure out along the way, probably an inefficient way of going about it. It's only natural to assume that for most people doing that, they're going to have subpar success or progress in the financial area. Now, let's take a look at the next area, the next habit, which is critical. So the next habit relates to the fact that optimists generally enjoy making progress by setting consistent, small, but realistic goals that they can follow through on a regular and consistent basis. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't have big, audacious goals that, whether it's starting a business, having a successful enterprise, having amazing success with your investment portfolio, whatever it might be, right? Having big goals creates excitement and energy. That's for sure. However, optimists are fine with having, alongside those really big goals, smaller, realistic goals that they can follow through on a consistent basis. Because when it comes to finances, it's the little things like paying down debt, consistent savings, looking at their tax planning, keeping the will planning, risk management, insurance planning up to date. Those little things along the way really make a big difference over time. So a pessimist may be less likely to focus in on those things. They'll get down. They'll go, what's the use of trying to shoot for, these small little incremental goals? What difference are they going to make? And so it keeps them from sort of taking necessary action to move in the direction of their goals. The last habit or trait that I'll talk about is optimists have the ability to learn from financial setbacks and to bounce back and keep making forward progress. So there's an acknowledgement by optimists that life can be chaotic, it can be unpredictable, and that financial setbacks are just inevitable for many of us as we go through our life journey. And they're not going to let those setbacks that may come their way to derail them from continuing to pursue their financial goals and objectives. And so that immunity to financial challenges, or that bounce back ability, that temperament that helps them to get back up and to continue going after their goals and objectives on a consistent basis, irrespective of what's going on in their lives, is a really, really important piece. Well, it's my hope that this presentation has helped to convince you that cultivating optimism in your life is going to be beneficial to your finances. So let's talk about a few ideas to continue to cultivate that optimism. It's not just for people who are pessimistic, but people who are optimistic now, but want to be doing things that will continue to fuel that optimism. So number one, make sure that you're just cultivating a little bit of self-awareness about the different voices going on in your head. Are there things like, I'll never be out of debt, or I'll never have enough money to retire? Make sure you capture that negative self-talk. Try to push it off to the side. Come up with some positive narratives about your goals. What are you trying to achieve, and how will you feel when you achieve those goals? Capture that positive voice and make sure you reinforce it. Number two, make sure you set some specific goals. So many times people just kind of fall in this default realm where they're not really setting concrete goals. So make sure you start setting some goals around your finances. Again, take out a pad of paper. What's important about money to you? What are the aspirational things that are important to you? And then begin making a plan. The plan are those baby steps that you need to take on a regular basis to move in the direction of your goals. And last, make sure you celebrate and take credit for your achievements. So the last thing I'll talk about will come across as a little bit self-serving, but I think it's a really important area to emphasize. So at the beginning of the presentation, I talked about the fact that optimists tend to naturally seek out advice and act on that advice. Pessimists are the opposite. They don't seek out advice. They're lone wolves when it comes to this area. They tend to fly solo. And I don't think that that's a very productive way of doing it, but that's the emotional bias that those individuals have. I would encourage you to fight past that. So if you do a self-assessment and you realize that you're on the pessimistic side, that might be holding you back from going out and seeking advice and talking to other people about financial options. It's not productive to be flying solo in these important areas, particularly when it comes to retirement income planning. So in the show notes, you'll find a link back to our website. On the homepage, you'll find out how you can get a complimentary retirement income plan. So it's a really comfortable, easy way of engaging with us to find out what you can be doing better, what we do for our clients, and whether or not coaching could play a role in your circumstances. So make sure you go to the notes. There's a link back to our website, as well as other free resources that you can take advantage of. Anyway, I hope you found the video helpful, a little bit thought-provoking. And again, if you don't want to miss future content, make sure you hit subscribe. Wishing you all the best in your retirement and overall wealth planning journey. You take care. Bye-bye.